So in this episode we're going to continue working with our views. To remind you what's been happening, we've created a list view and given it a collection of people, which is just these, and appended it to the body, which looks like this. So just looking at it visually, we've got the database, we've got the runtime, where we just instantiate the collection, create a list view and append it to the body. And this is what it looks like so far. So I think my goal for this tutorial is to create another view. Let's make this one orange. I might put it down here, or it could go here. And basically when you click on one of these people, so if I click on Matt, it's going to show Matt in this other second view, and we're going to have some editable fields, so maybe his name and age and whatever else, and then you can save it. I'd also like to get the hash changes working, so we can use a router. Basically I want it so when you click on one of these people, say Matt, John or Bob, it's going to change the URL. So maybe we're just sitting on the root directory and we click on Matt, and so we could change to say people, the ID, and edit. So 1 is the ID of Matt. What this means is that we can use the back button. So if you click on, say, edit Matt, click somewhere else, and we realize we want to edit Matt some more, we can just hit back. And if you didn't have the hashtag thing working, then you couldn't hit back. If you hit back, you'd go to the previous whole website, you'd leave this app. So this is why hashtags, where they can be useful, and you've got to sort of work out when do you want the back button to work, and that's when you use it. So the first thing we want to do is expand on our body element and maybe create a container div to help us nest these views. So instead of this list view just being straight on the body, we'll probably put it inside another view, and we'll call this the app view, which is kind of like the base, like root view. So we've got the list view, and we're also going to create this second view, which was orange, and I'm going to call this the edit view. Now when it comes to these kind of hierarchical views where you've got, say, a parent view housing these children, or child views, there's no really one single way to do it. The way I've been doing it is that we've got this kind of app view controller almost, which doesn't really have any of its own stuff, like no HTML inside of it, but rather its purpose is to sort of work with the router, in that you'll go to a new route and the router will call a method on app view, and the app view just instantiates and pops in and out these views. So it's just like, yeah, list view I want you to show now, and edit view you hide, or both show, and that kind of thing. But there's multiple ways to do it. You could have you could get rid of the app view and do it all in the router if you wanted to, but I see the router as something which purely just looks at the URL and then just runs a method, and that's it. There's not much logic in there. Anyway, let's get into some code, and you'll soon see how these issues come about. So our aim firstly is to stop referencing the body at all. So this body call down here, body append, is bad. So even with our app view, we don't really want to go body.append. So first of all, we'll just create an app container view, or div, sorry, and this is where our app is going to live in, and that's the only HTML we're really going to do for this single page app. Everything else will just be templates. Okay, so then let's create the app view. just paste this in. We've got the backbone view extend. Tag name is just going to be a div, and since it's a div by default, we can delete that. Render, for now, we're just going to make it render the list view. In future, it might render the list view, it might render the edit view, it'll depend on the route. But for now, we're just going to make it render the list view, and we're going to put it inside the app views L. So it'll be this.l. HTML is going to be the view. I'll better specify what the view actually is, so we'll just put that up there as well. Okay, so now the list view is going to be sitting inside the app views L, but that's not rendered on the page yet because we haven't appended it to the body. So since we don't want to use body, we're just going to scrap that, and it's going to be in the app container. But how is this going to get run? Now this is another sort of arbitrary thing, and the way I do it is just I have a kind of a start method. And this start method starts the app up, and so you put all your kind of starting code in here. And so I'm just going to append this.l. Sorry, this dot render dot l. Okay, for this to work, we're obviously going to have to return this down here. Otherwise, this dot render is going to give us, well, it's not really returning anything. So the dot .l would not work. So we have to return this, and because this is the whole thing, L is going to work. Another thing we can do is go this dot L like that. This is a special backbone method which just basically wraps L inside a jQuery wrapper for you. Just makes it a bit easier to type. And finally, we just need to create a new app view and run the start method on it. So okay, now we'll run it. We have a unexpected identifier. We'll just miss the comma. And it works again. Our next move will be to get this sort of ugly string concatenation and turn it into a template. Now there are heaps of templating engines out there that you can use. Here's an example, dust.js. But basically they all do this, or they all do a similar thing, whereby if you have, say, an object with these two properties, and here's your template, it just substitutes obviously the name, and count for count. I'm just going to use the _JS template method. So here we can see you go _.template, then you pass in a string, and it's got ERB like syntax. So I'm going to put my template up here, just under the app container. So it's a script tag with a text template type, and I'll just give it an ID of list view. So here you can see we use the same syntax as ERB, which is Ruby. And so now what we're going to do is have it as a property on the view, but it's going to be, we're going to do a compiled version of it. So this is how you do that. Template. So we're grabbing the text out of this element, which we know is here, and compiling the template. This means that down here we should just be able to go self.template and pass in the person. So now if we try that, we get almost the right result. There must be a problem with the template. Didn't close that off properly. Okay. Before I finish this episode, I'll just show another diagram of what's really going on. So we have our body. Inside the body we have a div called app container, and this basically is the container that holds our whole app. Inside of that we have the app view.l, and inside of this is where we put the list view. So the list view has a template, so this is the template, and render, just all render does is fills up the L, the list view's L. So before render runs, the L is basically just whatever the tag name is, so that defaults to div, so it's just an empty div. Or for a list view we've got tag name UL, so it's just an empty UL. And then render just fills up that L with stuff, and usually uses the template and a collection or model to fill it up. So in this case we use the collection, iterate through every object in the collection, and apply the template to it. So that's like Matt, Bob, and John, or whatever. Each one represents one of the collection, and it's just been filtered through this template and then chucked into the L element. And then the app, this means the app view can easily just chuck in the list view.l in here after it's been rendered, of course. So we'd probably do something like, this is in the app view, as we've seen. It's just this.l equals, well, you go .html list view.l and just fill it like that. So you're always working with these L's. So we've run out of time this episode, so unfortunately I didn't get to do the second view or the hashtag changing, so I'll have to do that in the next episode. I guess the reason we're going so slow is that this kind of stuff is hard to get your head around, but once you get your head around this, you can go crazy and make anything. So we're going slow for now, but hopefully you're picking it all up. If you've been getting something out of these videos and you do want to give back or say thanks somehow, in my profile on LinkedIn, they've got this new sort of endorsing thing where people can endorse you, and for you it'll look like this, so you can click the little plus. So if you want to give back, just go to my profile. I'll put the link in the notes, and yeah, just endorse that I have JavaScript or Backbone would be good. Just helps my profile a bit. Thanks.